Hey guys, so today I'm just going to be doing a bunch of inking. I won't be talking that much really, maybe a little bit here and there, but I'm just going to try recording inking these BPRD pages and make some highlights of it throughout the day after I'm all done. So I've got my earplugs in because I'm listening to music, but if I listen to it while I'm recording this, then Twitch or something like that blocks it from, copyright stuff. So, anyway, here's a page that I ink mostly on my iPad, sitting around on my couch or going out places and stuff, and just inking stuff bit by bit. My pencils are here. My borders are here. I like to keep my borders separate because it makes it easy if I got lines overlapping to cut them off. And here's a basic inks. What I mean by basic inks is this is almost like a coloring book style here. It's not really style, but it's just the spot where it's at. There's no shadows and very little shadows and stuff here. So that's what I'm going to do next. I'm going to make a new layer. Grab my pen up here. I'm working in Clip Studio. I am going to spot some black here, so I'm going to grab a really large brush, like size 80, 100. Now I believe this is supposed to be a daytime shot for the Kremlin stuff here, but I'm going to add some contrasty spots here, atmospheric stuff. Maybe it's smoke, maybe it's just the night. I want to use opposite shapes here, so I don't want to do something like that because that kind of goes along with this smoky shape that I have. So I want to do something that goes opposite. I'm not sure how successful that is, but there you go. Yeah, I think that'll work. Yeah, I think that'll be cool. Now I'm going to lay down the lighting here. I'm going to basically make the lighting coming from straight above, so that means I want to... There are two different ways to do shadows, kind of. A lot of times I do this, where I'm making the shadow on the object, like him, or on her arm here, because the lighting is coming from above. There's nothing wrong with this, just totally works. But then it's harder to then, what I'd like to do is to lay down a shadow underneath his arm, and his shadow is also casting an arm down here. Besides being on the arm, it would be casting underneath, but if I have it that dark, like that much black, I'm losing the shape of the object that's casting the shadow. Too much black, it'll just basically end up looking like... I don't want it to look like that. I want to be able to give the eye something to look at, some form of shape. So what I've started doing a lot is this technique, which I really like, is instead of putting the major shadow on the arm, I can put a little bit on the arm, but I'm going to put mostly under the arm. So it's the object, in this case the arm, that is casting the shadow. The object, in this case was the hand, is casting the shadow. The object is the leg casting the shadow. And I can still put bits of shadow on the object as well, but not so much that we lose its form and shape. So, shadow being cast by his head. This is the shadow being cast by her arm, by her leg, her chin. Put some shadows on the object. Need some shadows on her hair, her head, her eyes, from his head, his body here, and his arm there. So it's the object that's casting the shadow, not not leaning so much on the shadows on the object itself. I hope all that makes sense. So that's one way I go about doing some shadow stuff. So I'm going to lower the opacity on there way down, then go back onto the actual inking layer, grab my actual inking pen. I notice I'm using a lot of size 50s, almost like a default size. That has to do with the resolution that I'm working at, the size of the actual paper. So I'm working at 600 dpi, it's at print size, and I'm finding 50 is pretty good. But for casting shadows, I like to get it a little bit smaller so that, because I'm just filling in the black, but this way with a slightly smaller brush, it's just easier to do some details. So here we go. Here's an example of. I'm still, putting shadows, of course, on the object as well, but most of the shadows here are going to be cast from the object. Another way to go about this too is if I actually drew the shadows on yet another layer, because then I realized when I got to here, I might want this background to be black around him, and if I do that, we lose his shoulder completely, So sometimes I'll do it on another layer, because then once I lay that shadow in, I can take stuff out. I'm not explaining that well, but there you go. Alright, so let's fill in these blacks real quick. It's my favorite part, just adding black, adding shadow. Draw these in. One of the things I really love about Clip Studio is I can drag the paint bucket like this over lines and it fills it in, so I don't have to go individually plop, plop, plop. So that's just a quick example of laying down some shadows. Let's go back up here. Oh, that's a happy mistake. Yeah, I like that. But I'm going to have to add in some highlights because I don't want to lose the shape. I want people to still make out what the shape is. I don't want to have so much black on here that you lose the, foreground and background separation. And you can, I don't like doing complete white outlines, but a little bump like this I like. I think this goes a long way. I'll get rid of that. Oh, there we go. That looks good. It's a little bit more of an outline than I like usually, but I dig it. it'll work. There we go. It's starting to look like a page. This handle looks weird. There we go. Just give it some more body, some more shape. Get rid of this little guy. There we go. Fill in that spot there, that spot. Okay. Now this really needs some background. Even though it's just them talking in a dark room. Well, some of the stuff I need to do is kind of fill in, I guess, chair here. So everybody else is sitting in chairs. We need to see a bit of his chair. We need to see a bit of her chair. He's leaning to that side, so that's going to be a little more exposed. Gonna want some pictures in the background, these frames. Let's just help give it some depth. Since there's a lot of black here, I'm going to want some open space there. That'll probably all be black. Now he's got this black outline on his hair. I think this will be in. There's no outline. I'm sorry. It's just black, solid shaped hair. So I'm going to cast a shadow like this, or a light beam actually. So that'll highlight him. And he's the main guy talking anyway. So compositionally, this will block all this stuff off and kind of draw your eye over here. This will be more. And I just have to put like a little bit of this frame here with a little bit of angle, and that just gives the walls a tiny bit of dimension. Just a little bit. I could freehand this perspective. It doesn't need to be exact. Kind of figure it out just by guessing here. These chairs are actually a little bit off perspective because I freehanded it a little too much. Didn't quite pay attention enough. I'll have to think about whether I'm going to fix this or not. It's kind of hard to explain. It's just they're just not quite like they're on different horizon lines. This chair I think is lined up correctly. This one feels like it's kind of up and tilted slightly. So to fix it, I probably want to be more like that. I'll think about it. I'm going to leave this open. I'm going to leave all of this open. I have to indicate, oops, I'm going to indicate a doorway here because Vivara walks through it a little bit later. I want to make sure that doorway, I almost went like this, right? And you see this is called a tangent. So I've got the line from the chair going into the line that would be the door. It's natural to make these connections, which is why you get these bad tangents all the time, and you gotta look out for them. Sometimes you can use tangents as your friend to help guide the eye, but that'll be a slightly different subject. So I just want to avoid that right now. So I'm going to put that here. Doorway will go here. I indicated that there's like a little painting over here, so watch out for that. A little frame here. I think that's all I really need for the background on here. It's pretty easy. It's going to be a dark room, but not so. Oh, fuck me. Alright, I just did all of that on this layer. This will be interesting because I haven't been saving along the way. So let's see how badly I fucked this up. This happens. Oh wait. Yeah. I drew it right on the art. Okay. That's not too bad. You can go back pretty far in Clip Studio when you make a mistake like that, but not infinitely so. Definitely further back than you can go with Photoshop. Also, you should be saving along the way. So if I had saved a little bit earlier, I could probably have avoided having to clean this up. There's a lot of different ways to clean this up. I'm going to just... I could put this in Photoshop, grab all this gray. I wonder if this will work here. Let's not do the following. Adjacent. Look, I think it's going to grab all the gray. Or at least the ones that I don't want, which are like... Okay. Oh, looks like that worked. Mostly. Fuck. Okay, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna try this. Okay, so this is saved. It's page 18. This is from issue 1. File. Open. Page 18. Alright, so I'm going to attempt to do this. Let's go to image. Make sure I'm on the right layer. Image, adjustment, replace color. So I can click that. So sometimes I can just grab one of the colors here. Adjustments, selective color. Let's try with the neutrals. So I'm selecting all the neutral colors on the page, and now I'm going to grab the black and then lower it. Oh. That doesn't seem to be working at all, does it? So sometimes I can do this. I can really change the tone or the color that I'm picking up, but it's not working here. Yeah, it's not going to be able to separate the two. There's probably a way I can. Alright, so let's try this trick now. Let's go get the magic tool. Don't want it on all layers. Yeah, it looks like it's got that pretty solid. But it's also grabbed all the black, so there's not too much I could do. So, I mean, one thing I could do is then... This is kind of a weird shape. Let me get just something nice and solid. Yeah. So I can do this, but I'm just gonna have to go in there and reconstruct these lines. There's no way around it. I guess as long as I'm here, I'll just do a quick. Let's get rid of some of that. Alright. Alright, no easy way to do this. Sometimes there's an easy way. You can like just grab all those colors. Grab a color like a gray or something like that, and then like erase it. Open. Well, I'm glad you guys are seeing this. Sometimes things go wrong. And maybe you guys have a better solution than the things that I'm doing here. So I'm just going to grab the brush, grab this, which is like the eraser, but you're just literally getting rid of all of the pixels. It's different than the eraser for some reason. Oh wait, I did this before, right? Yeah, this works. So let's just I think I got all the gray lines there. Okay, I'll just delete it. Okay. So now I just have to go. Excuse me. I have to go in and just clean all this stuff up. There's no other way around it. Just gotta suck it up and do it. I think I forgot to fill in these black spots there anyway. Get a little smaller for these details. Clean all this up. See, this is why I like having the border on a different layer. So when I'm not going to erase that border at all or draw over it. And if I do draw over it, it's really easy to erase without it affecting that, without it affecting the line art. There we go. Just cleaning this shit up. I hope you appreciate it, because I'm sure this kind of stuff happens to you guys too. And like I said, if you have other if you have other ways of going about fixing these things that looks more efficient than what I'm doing, please leave comments. Let's talk about it. Alright, that's that. Ugh. Okay, so back to square one a little bit. Alright. New layer. Make sure I'm drawing on the new layer. Grab my pencil line. Let's see if I can remember what I was doing. I remember there was this. Oops. Frame here. Use that. There's a frame there. There's another frame here. Then there was another. Oh yeah, the door frame is going to be over here. Door frame, painting, back there. There's a door frame here. I think I'm going to bring a shadow coming down across. And then I believe on page 19. No, they're still talking. Okay. So lower the opacity, go back to the black area, or the ink layer. Double check, make sure I'm doing the right thing. Control and save. I've gotten cocky about saving lately because I have backup programs and stuff, but I work pretty fast, and sometimes I've noticed that I will draw so much before the thing auto saves that it's almost like I've lost so much it doesn't make sense. So I need to really just constantly control save. I should be doing it a lot more, but I got cocky. So I'm trying to be better at it. Alright, so it's back to, I guess, like a size 30 here. I'm going to use some straight edges, so I'm going to just use some lines for the frames. And I'm doing this freehand because no, I'm going to do it freehand. So actually I'm going to put all of this on another layer because I'm probably going to end up drawing over stuff. So I'm going to throw this the stabilization way up because I am going to freehand the fuck out of these frames. And I want it freehand because I want it to feel organic, not too cold. Like I used a straight line on the table here. It's okay, but I like things to feel more organic, Chair. I forgot to draw on the chairs, didn't I? Just a little indication of chair here and there. Here and there are some chairs. I've got 2 sets of glasses because I'm 45. Yeah, I think this is a good place to start laying in some black. Blink, blonk, bonk. I wonder how that looks. That's too much. Okay, now I'm going to lower the opacity on here and then clean it up. I don't mind taking the time to clean this up. Other people would you could either select this background so that when you're drawing on it, it doesn't draw into your foreground. That's probably a smarter way of going about it. But for now, this is just what I'm doing. I don't sweat it too much. Like if I'm in the middle of something, realize, there's a faster way of going about it. Unless it's way, way, way faster, I'm just going to stick to what I'm doing. I like forward momentum when I'm working. That was another example of like why I like to keep the borders separate. See, look, I could just erase over there without worrying about it. Now I'm going to turn that back up. Now I'm going to Control E, and that flattens the layer. Here's what I meant by the selecting of the area. So I don't draw on top of this dude. Let's get the select tool. Oh wait, and I think I have to make sure the follow adjacent is selected. Okay, now when I do the same thing I did on another layer, now I can actually just do it like that. And I'm not drawing, on top of the character this way. Okay. Not done at all. I'm going to have to keep going in with the adding more shadows. But basically what I've done here is I've just... First step was I inked the outlines of my characters. Just like the basic shape. It's almost like this coloring book style, which I'm actually interested in kind of developing a little bit. Then I added in more shadows. Then I added in more backgrounds. Then I added in a little more shadows. Now the last step of drawing is to then go back up here to this sort of penciling thing. And I'm just going to sketch out shit like I'm going to have the frames. Just indicate some shapes in the frames of portraits of people. It's going to be pretty vague. Just going to add in some shadows here. Yeah, I mean, I don't want to add too much. I don't want to go crazy. In this case, there's no object underneath his arm, so I'll do most of the shadow on the arm. I'm going to split the difference here by leaving this little outline under his arm. And one of the things I try to keep in mind is a sort of, I learned this from Dave Johnson, this a checkerboard board pattern. You know, you want to go like black, white, black, white, black, white, black, white, to create as much contrast on the page as you can. And he also said to me a long time ago to try to make the page 50% black, and that goes a long way. Make sure I'm on the right layer, the ink layer, and now I'm going to lay in some shadows. Make sure I'm using the right pen. And these days I'm using mostly solid shapes, but this being Hellboy BPRD, I'm going to do a little bit of rendering. Because usually when I'm doing this stuff, I'm letting my Mignola freak flag fly, and I'm allowing myself to be as much as a fanboy as I want normally, and not aping his style, but using all the techniques that I really like that he does, that I normally don't use. It's a lot more, rendering and certain kinds of details that I don't do anymore. I like just try to stay with mostly solid shapes in everything that I do. A little bit of a tangent here, but I'm not going to sweat it. Frames often have like sort of square, or a frame within a frame, or like a matting. I don't do it on everyone, but on some of them. I think that's all I'm going to be doing on the shadows. So let's fill that in. I also have my pen programmed here so that this front button is the back as zoom, and then this button up here makes it go back. Which is why you see pages sort of like zooming in and out without me actually using a shortcut of any kind. That might be too abstract back here, so let's add in some face. So this is the basics of the page. Now I'm going to go in and do some more rendering I was talking about. So one of the things I like to do is try and figure out what the level of rendering and detail I did back here was. It's pretty light. I'm just going to refresh my mind here. Still mostly solid shapes. Lower the stabilization. And here I'm just going to find some spots to do a small amount of rendering here. And just a little bit of rendering on the tie, not too much. Well, I don't like that. I don't know, I could throw a lot more detail on this face, but I think it's fine. It doesn't feel like it needs anything to me. I've become such a minimalist these days, it's a matter of time before I just start drawing stick figures. And just a little bit of rendering on the jacket and stuff. Nothing too much. Just a vague shape back there for the painting. Little textures on the table. He's going to need some more details. He's some sort of Russian military guy, so I got to do some separate research on what this stuff looks like on him. A little bit of texture in the snow, not too much. Dave Stewart's coloring this, so I don't have to worry about how it's going to look. It's going to look great. The last time I drew a Hellboy related stuff, I was very heavy. I did it all non-digitally. I did it all traditionally, and I used mostly pen. So this is a little bit of a departure from that stuff. I feel like the snow should really come a little lower to help define these shapes more. Because this smoke or fog or whatever is kind of covering up the shape too much. There you go. get that? Yeah, shit. I had all that background stuff over here. I'll just redo it real quick. Be easy. Okay, that's sort of pencil layer. Just some shadow layer, right? Yeah, I don't need that anymore. Same with this. I don't need that anymore. Okay, create a new layer. I'm going to redo the smoke stuff back here that I lost somewhere along the way. I think I lost it when I screwed up the layers that I was drawing on. But you know what's great about that is I kind of remember what I did before, and I feel like now this is probably even a slightly better version of that. So it's not always like this huge loss when you have to redo something. It's a lesson you get to learn, right? Okay, I'm going to bump that way down. Actually, I'm going to shut that off, and then I'm going to just select the areas around it. Create a new layer. Now I'm going to use this textury pen. It just got a little more texture to it than the other stuff. Don't care about the stabilization. I just need a bigger size. Let's go with 80. See how this looks. Started to downpour outside. So this is giving it a little spooky feeling. Get in and see some of these details a little bit. Alright, it's not awesome, but it works. And I'll leave this on another layer too, so Stuart can decide what he wants to do with it. If he wants to drop that down, it makes it a little easier for him to do a color hold. Other thing I want to do now, I'm going to lower the opacity on the background and the ink and create this other layer. I should get rid of that. What was that? That's not important. Alright, so I'm going to create a snow layer. Yeah, just draw some snow here. Happy snow. So these are larger snowflakes, so you can imagine that these are further into the foreground, right? So now I'm going to make a bunch smaller using a smaller brush, and I should zoom in a little bit. Much smaller brush. Still feels big, I don't know why. And what I notice is if I draw them sort of at this 45-degree angle, slightly drawing them as if I'm drawing them along the path that they would follow, then that sense of movement kind of translates to the page. And if I wanted to make this feel more like a calm snow, I would draw them all kind of more going straight down, horizontally, but vertically. can also do these with white, just using a white brush. But I kind of like being able to see the snowflakes drawn in black in these areas like this. And I don't feel like I need to cover up the entire page, because I think it gets, if you do the shadow or the snowflakes everywhere, it looks too unnatural, like it's planned. So having some spots up here, like where there's less of it, is the better. Yeah, that's driving me crazy. Let's get rid of this. Okay. So now I want to go here where the snowflakes are. I'm going to select the area around it. Then go here to selection, invert selected area. Now go on the other layers, like this is the background. I'm going to delete anything there touching the background. This is the main foreground inks. Now I delete all that. Boom. Look at that. This snowflake here is really sticking out at me, so I'm going to just make it smaller. It's too thick, I mean. I have to clean that up too. Easy peasy. All right. It's my cat being an idiot. Okay, and that's basically it. I'm probably going to sit on this page and then, go back into it fresh, look at it fresh again, and then touch stuff up. But basically this is it. This is done for now until I come back and look at it, and my cat's crawling everywhere. Say hello, Xander. He wants to be fed. Alright, that means this page is done. For now, like I said, I'm going to go back into it with fresh eyes in a little bit and then touch all kinds of stuff up. So let's just save. I'm going to end this for now. Alright, talk soon.